I'm Alex Benish and you're watching Recenter. This video is about how to bungle conspiracy reporting in 10 easy steps. The era of clickbait demands a constant stream of sensations. So how do you become a hero of conspiracy reporting? And how do you make money? Well, we've got you covered. All it takes is 10 easy steps. Number 1, don't read any quality books about the topics you talk about. You don't get paid for getting an actual education from quality books about criminology, psychology, history, political science, and different intelligence agencies. Actually, it costs you money and time away from creating precious clickbait. So, just learn on YouTube how successful conspiracy reporters apply their simple formula. And it's enough to read Russian media and copy verbatim. Number 2, rely on classic conspiracy literature. Who could forget such classics as Springmeyer's Bloodlines of the Illuminati, where he just wildly guesses and mixes publicly available biographical information on oligarchs with unproven claims? Or Behold a Pale Horse by Cooper, where he quotes from lots of documents he made up himself. And it's enough to read a handful of these books in your life because they are mostly the same anyway. Never question the content and the skill set of the authors. And don't ever look at their source material. Just go on believing that they had access to ultra-secret information and didn't just copy from older books and magazines. Number 3, when something shocking happens, only blame Western intelligence or the Jews. Even though many foreign intelligence agencies and foreign private intelligence groups operate on US soil, you should only blame American intelligence. Call it an inside job and don't even bother thinking through different possible scenarios. The only foreign intelligence you may ever blame is the Israeli Mossad. Disregard the fact that it's tiny and that Israel was set up by the Anglo-American Empire. Don't confuse your audience with actual historic context, and never, ever suspect the Russians. Your audience would hate you for that. The Russians are saints and they're only here to help you and fulfill your dreams and fantasies. Any suspicion towards the Russians must be brushed away as CIA disinformation. See? It's very simple. Number 4, work backwards from your conclusion. You just start with your conclusion, for example, the CIA inside job, and then work your way backwards. And you just ignore anything that contradicts your initial conclusion, and you collect bits and pieces that support your theory, and call these bits compelling evidence. Which brings me to my next step. Confuse innuendo and clues with actual evidence. Don't bother with any professional investigation techniques, such as establishing different scenarios and following up leads with an open mind, because that could become cumbersome and expensive. Leads might go nowhere or go cold, so just skim through mainstream articles and look for inconsistencies. And when you find an inconsistency, present it to your audience as proof of a conspiracy. And don't dig any deeper, because then this precious inconsistency you found might get cleared up and you end up with nothing. When you have collected enough bits, you can act as if you have succeeded at unraveling the case. You almost broke the conspiracy. Pat yourself on the back and brag. Next bit of advice. Next step to become a rich conspiracy hero, make something up. So if you're not finding enough inconsistencies and little bits, then you have to make something up. After all, the conclusion you started with is correct in the first place, so it's perfectly legitimate to make up fake evidence. You could claim sources in police and intelligence that you don't really have. Or you can doctor an image in Photoshop or use some photo you found on the web. You could claim that certain people are crisis actors even when they never worked in any acting field, and you can make bogus photo comparisons. Any photos of two people roughly the same age, same gender, and ethnicity and hair color will suffice. You can also steal good phony evidence and ideas from Russian media. Again, very simple. Next, create a stir now. An event with less than 100 dead people is only going to be hot news for 2 days. So you have to hurry and put something out fast. 20 minutes of writing time for an article is enough, and 1 hour producing a viral video will do. Keep it as short as the attention span of the audience can handle. After 2 days, no one will care about the event anyway. Next, be narcissistic, because that just works. If you act like a king, you will find some people who will automatically treat you like a king. The public generally cannot distinguish between narcissism and true leadership and true confidence. So, wildly exaggerate your skills, connections, your work ethic, etc. Just manage the gap between your true self and your fantasy self that you present to your audience. Next, cover your butt. By simply inserting words such as allegedly or assumed into your story or video, you might get away with it. But don't use these words too often, because otherwise your audience might realize that you don't know what you're talking about. It also helps if you float different variations of your theory and claim to only ask questions and play devil's advocate. Say Zionists instead of the Jewish conspirators. You still might get sued though, and when you end up in court, just present yourself as the Jesus of free speech and everything that is good. And my last point, make false promises to your audience. Works like a charm. The audience loves false promises, especially with when those promises appear to free them from their responsibility. Make it appear as if Donald Trump or Vladimir Putin are ultimately going to destroy the evil forces and save the world. You can also sprinkle fantasy ideas throughout your story about alt-right-wing ideas becoming so successful in the future that right-wingers will be able to force their will on everybody else. Subvert the Constitution if you have to and morph it into concepts of fascism light. The more you play the left versus right game and the east versus west game, the more your target audience will love you, because group narcissism is effective. You might get beaten up by Antifa though, but that's another story. So, with these 10 easy steps, you can become a successful conspiracy star hero and make lots of money. So, this is all you need. Get started. Start your own channel. And, yeah, become successful.